Right. So this week's Torah portion, Shabbat Shalom, everyone. This week's Torah portion is Shoftim, about judges, and about the king who writes his Torah scroll, or two Torah scrolls, and many other things. I'm going to read kind of what we read towards the end. I'm going to go over um, something that this Torah portion speaks about. How do we find? Sorry. How do we find courage when facing seemingly impossible challenges? So in Deuteronomy 20, verse 1, it says, "When you go out to war against your enemies, and you see horse and chariot, a people more numerous than you, you must not be afraid of them, for God, your God, who brought you up out of Egypt, is with you." And so the Torah is very honest. It's not saying if you go and you see enemies, or if you go and you go out to war and you're overwhelmed. It's saying it's gonna happen, right? It's gonna happen. It says when you go out. And so it doesn't pretend that we're not going to have these big, overwhelming opposition. And so, you might think, "Oh, I never go to war, or I've never gone to war." I mean, most of us haven't. Um, but this is not just war. This is not. I mean, you can look at this is describing real, actual war that the children of Israel were going. But we can also apply this to our own battles, our own um, challenges and problems that come, and they seem overwhelming, right? And so Hashem is saying, you will have these overwhelming challenges, but you need to look to Hashem. Um, and it doesn't want to minimize that we're going to have these challenges, but it wants you to acknowledge that Hashem is there with you through these challenges, right? And to not be afraid. So our sages say, in the Talmud, in Berachot 32b, it says, "Even when a sharp sword rests upon a person's neck, let him not despair of mercy." So even in the darkest times, when we think we are totally defeated, we still have to maintain hope and trust. We see many examples of that in the stories of the Holocaust. We see that there are countless stories of people who didn't give up and still stayed true to Hashem. Even if they lost their lives, they still were still praising Hashem, still knowing that Hashem is still in control, whether or not they lived or died. And Yeshua teaches us of this wisdom. He teaches us how to, I guess. He just teaches us how to, I guess, have faith. Not necessarily how to have faith, but how much faith you need, right? He says in Matthew 17, verse 20, "If you have faith as small as a mustard seed, you can say to this mountain, 'Move from here to there,' and it will move. Nothing will be impossible for you." So the size of our challenges does not matter. It won't determine the outcome. It's more about how much faith we have, and that Hashem is in control of everything. Whether whether He deems it, He might not answer your prayer exactly the way you want, but His plan is there in motion. So we just have to have faith in that, and that His plan is the right plan. And so, so what does this mean for us? Do we face literal armies? Do we see chariots or tanks coming out after us? No, but there are some other major challenges that we have to deal with, right? Some examples are illness, right? Illness is a major example, and financial burdens, or relationships that are broken, that seem beyond repair, or maybe just injustice that we see. It may be happening to us or happening to others. We see these things; they seem like above, like more than we can handle, more than we can even do or fix. These are the times when we have to depend on Hashem, like depend on Hashem, that He's gonna make things right, or at least His plan is right. His plan is right. He might not make it right for you, but his plan is right, right? He does make his plan right for you. It's just you don't think it may be right, but then it will be. So the message here, you must not be afraid, is really what it comes down to. Because oftentimes we just become afraid. We become afraid of that big challenge that's in front of us, and then we are stuck. We don't want it. We don't move forward. We don't do any actions. We just sit there and are just afraid. So what we have to do is remember and realize and internalize that Hashem, that He's our God. He's our master, and He's the one who brought us out of Egypt. He's the one who brought us out of sin, right? And if He can conquer all that, then why can't He conquer this other big problem that is in front of you, right? We have to realize that He is God over everything, over heaven and earth, and everything that happens, and we just have to have faith that He is in control and that He will do the right. He will do what's right, and you just have to trust in Him and follow Him in His ways, right? And He also brought us out of Egypt. So what is these other challenges compared to a nation being removed from another nation with all these miracles and things that happen? We see this example, this huge, miraculous example, and know we have to apply it to us, right? But how can we apply this today? How can we, I guess, show our faith, or just be practical about this, right? Let's be practical. So I guess the practical example is, you choose something in your life that's very overwhelming. It might be a fractured relationship. It might be some kind of major project that you've been putting off because it just seems too big. It may be illness, all these things that are in this huge mountain in front of you, this huge challenge in front of you, and just instead of being frozen, instead of being afraid of taking on the challenge or even dealing with the challenge, you just take one small action towards that goal. You just have to keep trying, keep walking, keep doing whatever that can help. So if it's like a broken relationship or something, you send some type of message or a phone call or something, whatever it needs, whatever you can do, or maybe even send a gift, maybe even just do something. If it's some type of project or something, just take one step towards to completing that project. Break it all down into tiny little bite-sized pieces that you can try to help you get past this giant army that is in front of you, this thing that you may think is too big. Because you got to remember that, you're not being asked to conquer the army all at once. You're just asked to take one step at a time. So, often, and then when we also have our faith in Yeshua, who, if He can conquer so much, and we know that Hashem raised Him from death, then we know that He can do that for us as well. So we just have to continue to put our faith in Him and continue to do our part, and then have faith that Hashem will do His part. So that's where we get that's what we can learn from that, just that one verse in our Torah portion today. So it's not that we may come into some hard times or challenges, that we will. This is something that we can count on. So I guess if you're not encountering any kind of major problems right now, prepare yourself. Strengthen your faith, and internalize that Hashem has everything under His control, and that everything will work out for the good. So in that regard, that's my message for today. So So Shabbat Shalom, everybody. And